Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So, in last episode, we had the conference finals against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and we actually managed to beat them, which was quite surprising because Toronto had a very good regular season with 60 wins. Well, we managed to sweep them quite convincingly, except for I'd say the last game, which was kind of tight. But the first game was a 4-1 victory, then we went 6-3, 5-1, and a 4-3 overtime win on a goal from Anton Frundell has sent us to the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, the Dallas Stars are kind of on an interesting path of their own. They reverse swept the Utah Hockey Club. I think they won all 4 games in a row, or they were down 3-1 at one point. I don't remember if they were down actually 3-0. Maybe they were actually down 3-0. Let me take a look. I think they were. But yeah, they had a really good run at the end of it and managed to get themselves to a Cup final. So you can see game 1 they lost 3-2, I should say. The next game they lost 3-2 again, so they were pretty close in these first 2 games of the series regardless. Then they lost 6-4, and it looked like their series was pretty much going to be done. Well, then they win 4-2, 4-2, 5-4, huge game there for them. And then they won 4-1 to get to the Stanley Cup Finals against us. So this should be an interesting matchup. Now, Dallas didn't have the best regular season. They were 38, 33, and 11. We were 49, 22, and 11, so we got home ice advantage going into this. But they actually have a pretty solid roster on paper, the Dallas Stars. So I am a little bit scared that they're technically a good team that's acting like a cheese team, which means that they're going to end up being actually better than anticipated. But this is what their roster is looking like. I definitely think it's not as strong as the Leafs in a way, but they do have some really good threats like Robertson, Hintz, Marchment, Wyatt Johnson's great, Stankoven's great, Matt Duchene's even good, even though he's only an 83. And then this third line is probably one of the better third lines you've seen out there. His fourth line's pretty solid. The defensive side of things is also pretty strong, especially on the left-hand side. I really do like that left-hand side that they have. The right-hand side, a little bit more on the weaker side of things, but still decent. And then they also have the decent goaltender with Jake Ottinger. So it's going to be probably a pretty heavyweight tilt here in the Stanley Cup Finals. Hopefully we're able to get 4 more wins and clinch our first ever Stanley Cup with this New York Islanders franchise mode. But anyways, before we get into our first ever Stanley Cup Finals, let's get in your guys' comments, see what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we will get into game number 1. So the first comment is from Nick Bucker, Barons OC, who says, honestly, realistic Leafs outcome, Islanders on top cup time, and then, yeah, he question mark, basically. Yeah, that is a realistic Leafs results, I guess, is just basically doing so good during a regular season that you get yourself to a conference finals and then you get swept by a team that probably you shouldn't have got swept by, because I would definitely say our roster wasn't as good as the Leafs, obviously, on paper, but we were obviously able to beat them because we had the good defensive structure. We also got great depth scoring throughout our lineup. We weren't like the Leafs where we were relying heavily on our top 6. We were relying on a lot of different lines, and it seems like the depth definitely helped us out quite a bit in that series. The next comment is from Michael Dose, who says, Cup baby, is this the earliest you've made the Stanley Cup in a series? And I think it's pretty close. I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, back in my Montreal series that I did in NHL 20, if anybody even watched that, because to be honest, that might have been one of my worst franchise mode series ever because it was really short and all that. But we did go to Stanley Cup Finals quite early on, if I remember right, and we ended up beating the Dallas Stars for that Stanley Cup. So who knows, maybe we could do that again with this Islanders franchise mode. In the last and final comment is from Sarah Taku, who says, get the rakes, boys. 2 utter collapses by Toronto and Utah would have made a urinating trees haters guide to the Stanley Cup Finals video pretty epic. Despite distinct whiff of fromage in the air, let's move onward to total victory. And yeah, I do sense a little bit of cheese just because of the record that Dallas had during the regular season, but maybe because of the fact that they just won 4 straight games, maybe they're just going to fall off a cliff, or maybe they're going to win a Stanley Cup. I don't actually know how we did against them during the regular season, so I think that's something we're going to look into before we actually get into this matchup, because I am curious on what it was like when we faced them during the regular season. So if we go to the calendar, actually, let's not go to box scores yet. Let's go to calendar. Let's see when we face them, and then we'll go and look at the actual box scores from those regular season games, because we would have only had 2 games against them, but I don't know when we played them and what the outcomes were. So let's see what we got here. So games against the Dallas Stars. We're into December. Do I see any Dallas games? No, sir. Actually, no, there's one there. So our first game, we lost 3-2 against them on December the 26th, so on Boxing Day. Interesting. We actually also had a game on Christmas Day. That's kind of weird. But anyways, so we played them there. Then we beat them 3-2 in a shootout a couple weeks later on January the 9th. Okay. So we were 1-1 against them during the season, and both teams scored the exact same amount of goals, basically, in those 2 games that we played against each other. So technically, actually, maybe we scored 1 less because we won in a shootout. So pretty even matchup, it seems like, based on the regular season. Let's take a look at the box scores from those games, too, just so we can kind of see who was doing what for us against each other. So maybe we could elevate those guys in the lineup a bit if we want to put the guys that were actually good in the season series, but I don't think I'm going to do that. But let's see. So it was December the 26th and January 9th. So if we go on over here to the 26th, yeah, it was a 3-2 loss. We were 27-6 at that point. They were 14-17-2. Damn, they were really bad actually at that point when they beat us. It's kind of interesting that you can see the record from that point in view. But if we look at the goals, they opened the scoring. Sam Steele scored first on us. Scott Mayfield scored his first goal of the season in that game. That's kind of an interesting one. Then Stankoven tied the game, or gave the Dallas Stars the lead after the first period. Anton Frundell got his 9th goal of the season in the second period, but then Stankoven scored again. Nobody scored in the third. Was there any big fights or anything that happened to note? There was a hooking major against Romanov, which I don't know what the heck a hooking major is. Like, did you hook the eye out of somebody's head or something? Like, that's kind of weird. Okay, so that's like the box score. What was the shots like? 33-30 in favor of Dallas. Faceoffs were in our favor heavily, 48-39. And the 3 stars in that game were Stankoven, Ottinger, and Duchesne. All right. So that was the first game we played against them. Let's take a look at the other game. Maybe I should start doing this from now on when we go into playoffs, is just taking a look at the season series and looking at the box score for the games, because I am kind of curious on that type of stuff. Like, it gives it a little bit more of a story feel to it, right? January the 9th, though, this is our win in a shootout. Let's take a look at the box score here. So the first goal, Rupe Hintz opened the scoring, his 10th of the season against us. Then Ryan Pollock tied the game up, his 3rd of the season. Bo Horvat got his 19th to give us the lead. Robertson tied it up. And then Anton Frundell had the shootout winner. Any major penalties to take note of? Goaltender interference against Rupe Hintz. Okay, no crazy penalties. What were the shots like in that game? 46-38 in favor of us, so we had a lot of shots in that game. And then in the face-off department, we also won more face-offs again, 54-35. 3 stars in that one were Ottinger, Varlamov, and Rupe Hintz. So Semyon Varlamov started that game, which is interesting. So Varlamov was the actual winning goaltender against them. I guess Sorokin would have played the other one, if I'm not mistaken. I actually could take a look at that just for fun, too, just to see what those numbers are like for our goaltenders. But obviously, we're going to be starting Sorokin in this Cup Finals, but if we want to, we could go to Varlamov at some point if Sorokin starts playing bad. But if we go to game logs here, and we go back against Dallas, basically, let's just sort this by alphabetical order. Then we can find that game against Dallas a little bit easier. Yeah, he played the first game against Dallas. Played relatively good, 909 save percentage, but looks like Varlamov was actually the better goalie against the Dallas Stars in those games that we did play against them, based on that. Oh, that one was already there. Damn, okay, I wasn't expecting that. 65 minutes in that game, 943 save percentage. Yeah, Varlamov was really good, actually, against the Dallas Stars in his 10th game of the season. So, who knows? Maybe we'll go to him at some point, but obviously Sorokin's been a beast in this playoffs, so might as well keep it the exact same. All right, so now that that's all good and ready to go, let's get into the Stanley Cup Finals. Kind of interesting taking a look at the regular season a little bit more in depth. I think I want to kind of do that going forward in the next few playoffs as well, just so we could kind of take a look at what we've done against certain teams and all that, because it would have been interesting to see what we did generally against the Leafs during the regular season. I am curious on actually how much points Austin Matthews had against us in that last round. I do want to take a look at that too. I know I'm making this episode extra long and you guys are probably like, get on to the Stanley Cup Finals already, but I am curious on how guys like Austin Matthews did against us in that playoff matchup, because we did a really good job defensively against him, and he did not score a lot until that last game of the series, basically. So I am curious on what his points were looking like against us. If we go game logs here, in that series against us, he had 2 goals and 2 assists. So he was not really very evident. His only 2 goals came in that last game, and then he had 2 assists before that. So Yeah, we definitely did a really good job containing the top line of the Leafs, so we got to do that obviously against Dallas as well, because Jason Robertson, Rupe Hintz, those type of guys are pretty big threats as well. So let's get to game number 1 now. We've wasted enough time, and let's see if we could win ourselves our first Stanley Cup. We got a home ice advantage. Let's lose it to our advantage, and hopefully Dallas falls off a cliff after they reverse swept the Utah Hockey Club. Let's see what happens of game number 1. Let's get this show on the road. First period, game number 1. 1-0 Dallas. Not terrible. I do like that we only allowed 1 goal, considering we faced 18 shots on goal. So Sorokin's off to a great start again. But our offense only generated 8 shots on goal in that first period, which is not a great sign, because we definitely need our offense to be doing what it did in the first 3 rounds. So we need to score more goals than that. We can't only have 8 shots on a guy like Ottinger, because Ottinger's a great goaltender. So if we only have 8 shots on goal, he's not going to really let that much goals in probably. So we need a better response in the second period, more shots on goal, and we need to keep this game close if we possibly can. Second period. 2-1. I mean, we did tie it up. Power play goal from Frundell. Good to see him on the board again, but Matt Duchene answers back 6 minutes later, and Dallas has the lead going into the third by 1 goal. Shots are 29-20 in favor of Dallas, so that was a much better period for our team. We need to have a great third period, though, and we cannot allow them to score any more goals, or else this game might be lost. We need to definitely find a way to score here early on if we want to, because obviously as Ottinger faces more shots, he's probably going to become a better goaltender. So let's see what happens in period number 3, see if we can tie this one up. We've tied it up before. Can we tie it up again? Penalty killed. Don't take penalties. Nicely done. Power play for us, but we do not score, even though we had a brief 5-on-3 it looked like. Can we find a way to get another goal? Shots are now pretty close, but we're still down by 1 goal. Can we find a goal? Come on, boys, please. Nope, we're going to lose game 1, 2-1. So very defensive game in game 1 of the Cup Finals. I would say that's a successful defense and goaltending effort for sure, but I do not like that we could only score 1 goal on Jake Ottinger, because if we're not going to score goals, that's when we're going to get into trouble, because we can't out-defend necessarily the Dallas Stars either. So shots were pretty damn even in game 38-36 in favor of Dallas. We lose by only a goal. So hopefully we can respond with a good offensive game in game 2. But Robertson scored his 7th, and Frundell scored his 7th, and then Matt Duchene scored his 7th. So maybe the 7-7-7 means that we're going to win the slot machine. Who knows? But Frundell's goal was from Duclair and Vetrano. A lot of 7s in that first one. That's interesting. Any badly minus people in that first game? Probably not, right? Romanov was a -2. That's not great. That's not great. 3 stars of the game are both goaltenders, Ottinger and Sorokin, and in Matt Duchene, who was obviously good against us in the regular season, because we saw that he was a star with 2 assists in one of those games. So far, it seems like our season series against them was pretty similar to what it had started off with the playoffs as well, because the first 2 games of the regular season were pretty close. This game was close as well. I think we're going to keep the team the same, obviously, but hopefully we can find our offense going. If our offense can't find any way to get going in this next game and we somehow lose it, I will probably have to make some adjustments to the offensive core to try and get it to get going again, because obviously if we fall into a lull where we're not going to score goals, our team is going to have a very tough way to win games. Like, we're going to have to win games like 1-0 if we want to win, because Sorokin and the defense have been elite, but the offense has been a bit inconsistent sometimes. So let's keep the team the same, get into game 2 on our home ice, and see if we can at least have a tie series headed to Dallas, because if we lose both these games headed to Dallas, we're going to need to win both games in Dallas if we want to have a chance at that cup. So let's see what happens in game number 2. Dallas has now won 5 games in a row, which is kind of scary. Let's see if we can respond and give them their first loss in a bit. First period, game number 2. 1-0 us, good start. Bo Horvat opens the scoring. Shots are 14-10, so I like that first period a lot more than last game. Last game wasn't terrible because we only allowed the 1 goal, but so far definitely a very close series based on each period. Like, it seems like it's a very tight checking Stanley Cup Finals. Not a lot of room to move out there and all that type of thing. Shots are 14-10 in favor of Dallas. It's a 1-0 lead for us. Can we get some insurance in the second period, or just keep it the same at least? So don't let them get on the board, basically. Second period. 1-1. They tied it up. Miro Heiskanen pretty early into the period. Shots are now 23-20 in favor of the Stars, and it's a 1-1 game. Man, yeah, this is a tough series for our offense so far, but also for their offense too, I would say, for that matter. Like, we're lucky that Sorokin's keeping us in these games, but we need to find a way to win this one here because, like I said, I don't want to lose both of our home games going to Dallas because that's going to be a tough hill to climb going forward if it is the case. So, who wants to be a hero for us in this third period and help us tie the series up in the Cup Finals? Let's see what happens in potentially the final 20 minutes. It could go to overtime still, so that's always a possibility. Penalty kill in this third period. We killed it off. Nicely done, guys. But Dallas gets the lead. Maverick Bork, of all people, gives Dallas a 2-1 lead. And our offense is still having a major trouble trying to find a way to score here, which is not great. Can we tie it up late? No, we cannot. Dallas has won 6 games in a row now. And we have to win 2 games in Dallas or else we're going to be in a very bad spot. Shots 34-30 in favor of the Dallas Stars at the end of it. We only had 1 goal in back-to-back games. They've only had 2 goals, so we're right there, but we're just not able to get that offense going. Or from Vetrano and Frundell. Oh, man, this is not good. Same 3 stars pretty much as last game, except for Heiskanen gets 3rd star this one instead of Matt Duchene. So Sorokin's definitely giving us a chance, but he's not getting that goal support. So we are going to have to make some adjustments here for the next few games because we need offense going. We need our offense doing what it was doing last series against Toronto. Like, both goaltenders in the series are up to a 930 plus save percentage. Like, Ottinger's on a 931 and Sorokin's on a 933. So we just got to get that offensive support and we could definitely win games. So let's make a little bit of an adjustment. We are going to get Bjorkstrand back to the top line. Frundell will go back to the second line. And from another perspective, I don't think there's really much else I can do. So I don't think I'm going to make any more adjustments there. From a defensive standpoint, I've liked our goaltending. I've liked our defensive play. Trying to think if I should make any more adjustments. I could do that, but I feel like having Pollock on the top 6 would make him lose morale. But it would get rid of that negative on chemistry, but also gets rid of the +5, so kind of a weird trade-off. Yeah, I don't think I would make any adjustments defensively or goaltending-wise. So, is though that enough of an adjustment doing Bjorkstrand for Frundell? Trying to think of what else we could do. Maybe we could address our power play. And maybe not. I don't know. Maybe we just swap like Bjorkstrand and Nelson, just do some random thing like that. And then this one, Frundell's on this unit. I do like Frundell a lot. I don't know if he should be on the first unit or not by now. And maybe I'll keep the rest of that the same. Just got to find a way to get that offense flowing a bit better, which I honestly don't know if just flipping the 2 of these guys is going to do anything for our team. I have actually liked Parsonen's offense more than Duclair's for the most part, but Duclair was really good last round. I could move Holmstrom back to being like a 4th line guy and then have Parsonen and Duclair playing on the same line. Let's just flop that around maybe a bit too, see if that helps out things, but we're in a bit of a tough spot because now we got to win 2 games in Dallas. We're both pretty damn similar teams. We actually have the best power play in the playoffs right now, which is interesting. Yet our power play, I don't think, is generating enough chances in this series so far. But Dallas is a good defensive team. It makes sense that they're going to be just as tough as us defensively. But I hope that we literally didn't just sweep Toronto just to get swept in the Stanley Cup Finals. Because the fact that Dallas came back from 0-3 and now they're literally 2 wins away from winning a Stanley Cup is kind of scary. So we need a big response, though, here. We need to win in Dallas. If we win this game, we're back in the series. If we lose it, we're going to need to reverse sweep Dallas for a cup, which is going to be probably a tough matchup. Now, it would be kind of climactic if we went basically down 0-3 and then we reverse swept Dallas like they reverse swept Utah, but I honestly don't know if that would happen or not, because sometimes that happens in this dimension. I feel like if you win in 7 games in a lot of rounds, you end up losing in 7 games in the Cup Finals. Meanwhile, Dallas actually hasn't been to a lot of Game 7s, I don't think, before this. If we go to the playoff bracket here, where is the friggin' bracket thing? It's probably in the stats, right? Oh, yeah, here. Let's take a look at what they did before our matchup here, what their path was to the Stanley Cup Finals. So they took Edmonton out via sweep. That's a pretty huge win. They swept like Connor McDavid and all that after a bad season. Then they took out the Sharks in 5 games. Then they took out Utah in 7. Yeah, I feel a little bit worried now. that we're not going to find a way to win this. But who knows? Maybe we'll win these games in Dallas and it'll be back to square one again. Like maybe it's a trend where the home team doesn't win till Game 7, which would result in us winning Stanley Cups. So let's see what happens. Game number 3. Can we get ourselves back into the series, or else we're going to be down 0-3, and that's going to be a very, very tough hill to climb. First period, Game 3. 2 on us. Good offensive start for us. They scored first, Jason Robertson, but we get a short-handed goal from Simon Holmstrom, and we also get a goal from Frank Vetrano. Good start offensively, because this is the most goals we've scored in a game so far against Dallas already, which is kind of crazy. Shots are 11-9 in favor of us. It's a 2-1 game. Can we get some insurance in the second period? Second period. They tied it up again. That's not great. Yeah, our offense is still pretty bad in the series right now, but theirs is also not very consistent either. Like, they're not scoring a lot more than us, to be honest. So it's been a very, very close series. Like, we could easily be in the opposite position. Like, we could be up 2-0 right now. But instead, we've just haven't been able to find a way to get that extra goal. Shots are even, goals are even going in a third. Can we find a way to get that lead back in the third period, or are we going to fall down 0-3? See it happens. Come on, boys. This is a huge period for our team. We need somebody to step up. Maybe Brock Nelson. Considering he was good a few rounds ago against Washington, he hasn't done much since. Would be nice. But Mason Marchman gives Dallas the 3-2 lead. Power play for us. Can we tie it? No, we cannot. Oh, man. We are literally going to go down 0-3, aren't we? Power play for us late in the game. We do not score there. And Marchman gets an empty netter. And we have to pull off a reverse sweep here, or else we're getting swept in the Stanley Cup Finals. I feel like we're going to get swept because of the fact that they reverse swept a team to go into a Cup Finals. They have probably an easier chance to win the series than us because of that. That sucks, man. No, we're literally going to potentially get swept here. We had the lead at one point, but we have not been able to score consistently. Holmstrom from Pollock, Vetrano from Ferndell Nelson, and then we give up 3 unanswered goals. God damn. Yeah, this is going to be really tough to come back from. Ottinger's just been too good as well against us. Like, we just can't generate goals. We have 4 goals for as a team in 3 games. And we were scoring a lot more against the Leafs. Like, yeah, I think that's probably why we just dried up our offense after that series. Or maybe we shot so much that our team is just tired of offensive chances now. We got to make some crazy adjustments now because we're down 0-3. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to see who the worst player was against the Dallas Stars. Actually, maybe, should I do that? I don't know. I was thinking of getting rid of the worst player against the Dallas Stars from the regular season, but let's try something crazy and make our center depth as deep as it possibly can. So Barzal, Horvat, Nelson, and Cizikas down the middle, just to make us as strong as possible down the middle. That means then we will basically move Bjorkstrand because he's our top guy that can play on the right side. We'll move Frundell up to that top line with Barzal and Bjorkstrand. We'll move Vetrano to... Actually, the right wing's fine. We'll move Duclair over to the left side in that top 6. We'll get Holmstrom to play on that right wing. We will... Gustafsson hasn't really done much for me. But he can play left wing, so that's actually fine. Parsonen can't play left wing, that's the only problem, but we have played him there. Is there anybody that I would put in that's scratched? Maybe Wallstrom? Yeah, probably not. Trying to think of what else I could do here. Pellick and Dobson will do. Romanov and Pollock. And let's go with this. Let's just get rid of that minus. I need to make some crazy adjustments, and then Sorokin will start still. But, yeah, reworked for group just to basically try and get something to work, because we need to find a way to win 4 straight games, which is not going to be easy. So then we are running Frundell, Barzal, Bjorkstrand, Vetrano, Horvat, Duclair, Parsonen, Nelson, and Holmstrom, Dufour, Cizikas, and Gustafsson. So we have our best centers in the center position. We have our best right wingers at the right wing position, and our best left wingers at the left wing position pretty much. So we'll see if it works. I don't think there's anybody I'd call up from the AHL yet. I don't think so. No, doesn't look like it. So we're going to have to run with this and see if our team's able to win 4 straight games. But we might be losing our first ever Cup Finals matchup, which is kind of bad in a sense because this team doesn't have a huge window, I think, before we have to start actually shedding off some people. But I think we'll be back again next year in the playoffs, obviously. But we need to win before a lot of these guys start to retire because, like, Zizekas is getting up there in age too and all that. So kind of getting a little bit worried with the age on this team a little bit. But we're still in this. We could still win 4 straight games, but we're going to have to do what Dallas did to Utah, basically. So we're in Dallas still. Game number 4, real-time simulation, looking to stay alive and force a game 5. Just take it one game at a time, boys. One game at a time. Don't get worried about the next game until the next game is an actual thing. Let's see if we can get that offense going better here. We do open the scoring. Brock Nelson scores first. That's good to see. They get a short-handed goal from Morgan Barron, and then Sagan scores not that much later. God damn, man. And now Sorokin's having a tough time keeping the puck out of net here. Nils Lundqvist makes it 3-1. That's not good. Unless we can score a goal here late, I do not like our chances. Oh, never mind. What the heck just happened? Why did it go to 20:03? It's weird. That was a weird glitch. But anyways, we're down 3-1 after the first period despite outshooting them 16-10. Maybe I should have started Varlamov in this series just to play the best goaltender during the regular season against them. This is tough. Our offense is just not scoring enough. Like, we scored first in this one, but it didn't seem to be mattering at all right now. It's not great. Well, at least it's only the second period. If we could get a goal back in this period and don't give up anything, we have still a chance. Let's see what happens in period 2. Come on, guys. We want to survive here. Brock Nelson scores again. A power play goal for Brock. He's got 2. He's at least playing a little bit better here in this game. Marchman scores for them. God damn it. But Bjorkstrand answers back for us to make it a 1-goal game again. At least we're having our best offensive game yet, but I feel like it's a bit too late for that. Come on, guys. Let's tie this one up. Penalty kill. Nicely done, penalty killers. Power play for us late in the second, and we do not tie it. We are trailing going into the third period with goals 4-3, shots 26-26. We need a goal to survive the season, or 2 goals to survive the season. 1 to at least tie it, but we might be getting swept in the Stanley Cup Finals. And I don't think I'm going to watch the Stanley Cup celebration if we are to lose it, but oh, man, that sucks. It sucks being in this position. Dallas is a great team, though, so it makes sense that they'd win the Stanley Cup, but they definitely are kind of a cheese team. They're a good team on paper, but the record that they had during the regular season does not indicate that they're this type of team in the playoffs. So definitely shows like they're kind of like a cheese team in disguise, basically. I don't even know how to explain it, but let's get into this third period and see if we could survive somehow and force one more game at least. Come on, boys. We had a really good run up to this point. We need to find a way to tie this one up here. Power play for us multiple times. We do not score on them. Wasted opportunities. Wasted opportunities. Final few minutes. Oh, there it is. Rupe Hintz makes it 5-3. The New York Islanders are unfortunately going to be getting swept in the Stanley Cup Finals by a team that just pulled off a reverse sweep. And unfortunately, our first trip to the finals is going to result in a loss. A long extended season that was looking promising. We run into a good Dallas team and we could not score for the life of us. And then obviously that last game, Sorokin didn't have a good game really, but that is not great. That sucks, man. A lot of these guys might be on their last legs of their NHL career too. Like Brock Nelson's getting up there as well, right? Nelson from Parson, Nelson from Barzell, and Bjorkstrand from Barzell and Frundell. We had such a good run up to this point, man. And Brock Nelson actually did get a star in that game, so shout out to Brock. But who was really bad in that game? Brock Nelson was somehow a -3 despite having those 2 goals. Damn. Dobson was terrible as well. No points, -3 for our best defenseman. Don't like to see that. Romanov and Mayfield were plus. Sorokin was absolutely dreadful in that last game. That's really unfortunate because he was doing so good for us up to that point. All those games were pretty damn close though. Like, even though we technically just got swept, I felt like it could have been a lot closer. Like, that was a 1-goal game, that was a 1-goal game, that was a 2-goal game, and then this one was a 2-goal game as well. Just we could not find that offensive consistency in that Cup Finals, unfortunately. Damn, man. So close, but yet so far. Let's take a look at our player stats for the Cup Finals. We didn't score a lot of goals, so it's not going to be much different than last round, but our player stats for the playoffs, Barzal was just under point per game. Same with Horvat. Nelson was good, but he was -4. Probably because of that last game, though. Frondell was good. Bjorkstrand was good. Like, we got really good depth scoring. But when it came to that finals, nobody was able to do anything. Cizikas didn't even score a single goal in that playoff run, so that's a bit scary. He is 36 years old. Is he going to retire? Potentially. There's a good chance he could, which is kind of scary because he's a good defensive center in my opinion. From a defensive standpoint, I mean, Dobson was great. Everybody else was a bit on the quiet side afterwards, it looks like, but still okay. Not bad. And then Sorokin still rocked a 928 despite having a really bad last game. So he was still a brick for us for the most part. Damn. Well, most of these guys will be back with this team next season, so who knows, maybe we'll be back again in a Stanley Cup Finals again next year, but hopefully we don't run into a Dallas team like that again. Let's advance a day and just see who ends up winning the Calder Cup. It's going to be the Cleveland Monsters. The Cleveland Monsters. I feel like they already won before, but I don't remember. But you know when Dallas reverse swept Utah that they were going to sweep us, right? Let's take a look at those awards for the season, though. So Dallas, the Stanley Cup champions for the first time in this franchise mode. First time, I guess, since 1999, which is kind of insane. Toronto won some President's Trophy. We knocked them out in the conference finals, but then we lost in the finals. And obviously, we know the finals was Dallas and us. In terms of individual awards, Connor McDavid, the Art Ross, and the Hart. Adam Fox won the Norris. Connor Bedard, the Lady Byng. DeAndre Harris for Washington won the Calder. Not really a surprise. Wyatt Johnson won the Conn Smythe. Wasn't expecting it to be Wyatt Johnson, but shout out to him. Igor Shesterkin in Chicago wins the Vezina. So it's not... Was it in San Jose in my other series? I don't remember which... yeah, I guess he was in San Jose in my Draft to Glory, and he's in Chicago in this series. I always can't remember. Joseph Wall wins the Jennings. Colton Parayko, the Masterton. Utah's head coach won the Jack Adams, but unfortunately got reverse swept by the Stanley Cup winners. Crosby won the Selke, and McDavid the Lindsay, Matthews the Richard. Matthews has 4 Richards in the last 5 years. That's kind of insane. AHL awards, anybody interesting down here? Some notable names, but nobody from our AHL teams, so nobody that matters to us. All right, so all that is done. Now the question is, where are we going to be drafting and all that type of thing? Wrap up the season. That's unfortunate, man. I was hoping for a much better outcome than that. But, I mean, it was a good run for our team, but we definitely should have won that series somehow. So Calgary won the draft lottery, followed by Philadelphia, who moves from 12 to 2. Columbus at 3, Vegas at 4, and Nashville at 5, okay? The question is, are we going to have any retirements after that loss in the Stanley Cup Finals? Let's see what we got here in terms of retirements. Looks like we might not. Yeah, we didn't lose Cizikas. That's interesting. I thought we were going to lose him, but that's not going to be the case. Shout out to Alan Quine, though, former New York Islanders player. Forgot all about that guy. So far, it looks like we don't have any retirements, which is good. Andre Palat retires. Same with Pat Maroon. Ryan Dzingel, okay. Not a huge retirement class this year. Right wing side of things, Cal Clutterbuck, another Islanders legend, retiring as well. All right. Defensively, the best is Eric Johnson in Carolina. He also had TVR retire in Dallas's AHL team because I don't think he was on their NHL roster. Jan Ruda. All right. No huge names in terms of retirements, it seems like this year. Robin Leonard retired as well. All right. So we didn't lose anybody to retirement, which is good. Did we lose any coaches? Nobody in Bridgeport and nobody on our actual NHL team. That's good. Nick Dowd's now a scout. Same with Derek Ryan. Okay. The question now is, what is this draft class looking like? Because I honestly don't know too much about it. I don't even know where we're drafting this year. Oh, it's the Landon DuPont draft, right? All right. Kip Camper, what a name. Hey, shout out to Ruben Hillen. Probably related to Jack Hillen. I know he's a generated guy, but still. Islanders legend Jack Hillen. Goddamn. You know what? I'm not even going to do the draft interviews. We're going to come back to that draft stuff in a second because I do need to know where we're actually drafting first because I don't even remember what pick we have this year, or what picks we have. So we have our first round pick, which is 31st. We have 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So we do not have a second, we do not have a third, and we do not have a seventh. So we're not going to be able to get a ton of good prospects in. We might be able to get something with our late first round pick unless we want to flip that to get something good for our NHL team. But at 31, what could we get? What could we get at 31? Let's see. Vorobyov. He might be 2 years out, though, which is not bad. He might be intriguing. I'll just pin him in case. Wadden's a medium 6. Offensive defenseman. Liam Prince might be okay, might be 2 years out. Guaranteed medium 6 in Pete Scavello. He looks okay as well. We'll pin him. Mason Dawes. Don't know if he's elite or not. Thomas Sinzinger. Might be an elite player. Can't tell. Frederick Peterson. Don't know if he's elite. There's a medium 4 in Isaiah Corson. So I don't even really know what we need to prioritize, if it's defense or offense. Johnny Peterson is a defenseman as well. Same with Bobby. Bobby. Oh my goodness. Any low leads that are guaranteed? Because that'd be interesting. This goalie's definitely not a franchise goalie. If he was, that'd be insane. He's probably an elite goalie, though, at least. Maybe I'll pin him just because of that. Let's see. Medium elite sniper 9th overall. Medium elite goaltender there. Let's just pin him anyways. We aren't getting... Ooh, okay. This guy's kind of interesting. Oh, he's supposed to go top 10 or top 15. Damn, that guy looks good. He's probably an elite player. I was hoping he was going to go in a different round. Guess he looked really good. There's another gem. Willie Harrison. Not supposed to go to the second round. He's like grinder, so he could be a lowly grinder. Willie Harrison. Sounds like a country singer, like Willie Nelson almost. Lowleats, any lowleats? Kenneth Chow, a.k.a. Kachow. Lightning McQueen, that's what his nickname would be. I guess I could pin him. He could be a low elite, but I don't know for sure. Tyrone Fisher. There might be some low elites in this draft, but I honestly don't have enough about this draft class to know for sure. So I don't really know what we're going to lean towards drafting in the early stages of this draft. So I'll just scroll through this list again, and you guys could tell me who you think would probably be the best person to take. I just pinned a lot of guys, but there's medium 4s, there's some elite goalies, there's also some guys that might be decent, like Vorobyov, who might be a medium 6 with a high overall, but he might not be a high overall too. So a lot of decisions to make there with our first selection, unless we wanted to trade away. Final few things we got to take a look at in this episode. Let's look at the progress reports and also look at our contract situations. So progress reports, Frondell's growing a lot, not really a surprise. He has generated puck on a string with his all alone now, which is interesting. We are getting some major drop off from Casey Cizikas, so that's kind of scary. We're also getting drop off from Varlamov, who is a pending free agent. So a lot of our older guys are starting to drop off quite a bit. So we got to make some decisions with that. I feel like Varlamov's time here might be done because of that. I don't know for sure. It depends on what he wants, but Khudobin is getting close to being NHL ready. Solovyov went up to a 65. Damn, he's looking nice. He's going to probably get signed for the AHL team next year already. And then I might let go of both Lennox and Skarek, to be honest. Unless I want to use Skarek in the NHL, but I don't know about that. Defensively, any good growth from anybody? Some of the medium 7s are getting growth, which doesn't matter too much. Pratt's only up by a couple points, despite having a great AHL season. That's not great. I was hoping he'd get a lot more growth than that after a good AHL year. What else we got here? Osgood's up by a couple points. Vikingstad got some growth. What about left wingers? Galvin went up to a 60. That's kind of nice. Nurmi up to a 72. Yeah, we still don't really have a lot of prospects to worry about. So, anyways, there is all that in terms of player development. In terms of our contract situation, who's up for renewal this offseason? Who is up for renewal? Let's see. All expiring. So the big one. Oh, why does it still say I'm offering these guys contracts already? I don't have auto signings on. Like, look at that. It already has an offer sent to Bolduc, it says, and to Gustafsson. Was it because they were both RFAs last year? Why it glitches out like that? I don't even know. It's weird. I don't know if I actually do have offers sent to them or not. But anyways, in terms of other players, Casey Cizikas is a pending free agent. He is likely to start dropping off a lot. Do we bring back Casey again? I know he's an Islanders legend pretty much at this point. He had a relatively okay season during the regular season, but in the playoffs, I don't think I was a huge fan of his play. But he is a good defensive fourth-line option. But he will be on the decline. There's also Oliver Wahlstrom, who's a pending UFA, so we got to make some decisions with some of these guys down here. Liam Foudy, and then there's all the like AHL type of filler guys, Troy Stetcher. Like, it isn't the biggest names of guys that we need to bring back in terms of UFAs, but I don't know how much of them we want to bring back for another season or two. So you guys can let me know on that. The big one I'd say we have the big quiz question on is Semyon Varlamov. He's 39 years old. He's dropping off. Likely he's going to be pretty bad by next season in terms of overall, but he's a good goaltender. Don't get me wrong, but he only wants 1.225. That's actually a pretty solid bargain. I mean, he is going to drop off considerably, but we could bring him back, and I could run Kudobin and the other Ukrainian or whatever it is from goaltender, and we could let go of Skarek and Lennox, potentially. Or I could hold on to Lennox and let go of Skarek or something like that. I don't know. We might be able to bring back Varlamov if you guys want Varlamov to come back for another year, because he was really good. But he obviously could be on the decline rapidly. Like, he had a 920 save percentage this year, which is really good. Last year he had a 917, so he has done his part as a backup for sure with this team. So a lot of tough decisions with that. But I'd say in terms of UFAs, I probably wouldn't bring back a good chunk of these guys. Maybe Cizikas just because he's played with the Islanders so long, but I honestly don't know if he'd be worth bringing back because he could drop off. So I think that's all we needed to take a look at, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check. Yeah, okay. Well, anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll take it to the 2027 NHL draft as we look to add a couple prospects with our picks that we have, or we could trade those picks probably from players to help out a roster. But I think we're going to still have a good-looking roster going into next season, but I am a little bit worried about the age of some of these players if they're going to start dropping off, because Brock Nelson could start dropping off. If we bring back Varlamov, he might drop off. If we bring back Cizikas, he might drop off. So we might need to make ourselves a little bit younger while maintaining that competitive nature if we can. But I'm not too sure if that's something we're going to lean in towards doing or not. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.